it's good to have the information out there. And pardon me while I told Amy I'm driving. So in Arizona, I have my iPad mounted here. So I'm not breaking the rule that we're doing with the Plexus Project X.
He's totally compliant.
And in Arizona, I mean, whether it's right or not, there's actually, I think we're one of 2 states that there's 0 laws against anything with phones or anything. So I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of texting or, being on the phone while you're driving like that. But I'm making an exception in this case. And as long as you don't mind that I'm paying attention to the road, then we're good. Yeah, so I've been with Plexus. I've been the social media manager for just over a year and a half, or about a year and a half. Before that, I lived here and worked with a couple different companies, not network marketing companies at all. I'm new to the network marketing business myself with Plexus, so I've been exposed to it for the last year and a half since I've been with the company. I shouldn't say I'm totally new. I mean, I think I'm like a lot of people where at some point in our lives, we all kind of came across network marketing and had different, run-ins with it in different ways. So in that case, I'm not totally brand new to it. I've got some experience, but the social media aspect is really my specialty. So a lot of the keys for social media in general are applicable to any business, whether it's network marketing or retail business or business to B2B, wholesaling, that sort of a thing. I mean, it's really these strategies and tactics that can apply everywhere. So having said that, a lot of the things that you guys are trying to do or are doing on social media, you're not alone. There's pretty much the business world is out there trying to learn how to use social media the best way possible. Not everybody does it great. The majority of people don't do it very well, to be honest. I'm not saying ambassadors, I'm saying people in general. So you're in a boat with a lot of other people of trying to learn how to do things. And it's always changing, right? Stuff changes all the time. So it's my job to keep up with it and then share that information with you guys. So that's my goal. The other part of my job with Plexus is to manage all the company accounts, all the brands on the different social media channels. So we have Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google Plus still. What else? We have our blog that we launched late last year that's on the website on plexusworldwide.com. And yeah, we use the social media channels to really distribute the information, interact with others. A lot of different reasons why we're on those different channels. There's different approaches for each channel, different content, or different ways at least of presenting the content on each channel. So that's where I'm coming from. My career is social media marketing. It's not necessarily as a network marketer, but like these tactics really apply to anyone trying to do business or practice social selling, if you will.
Okay. Well, and I think that's great because I know a lot of us have talked about like the different social media outlets and how to effectively use them. But maybe if you could start with Facebook, because I think we're all on Facebook. I think when a lot of people think social media, they only think Facebook. But I know you and I have talked, and it's come up on some of the team boards that we forget that a couple things. One, that our Facebook page is kind of our own brand, right? It's kind of it is our business page, whether we like it or not. And just some do's and don'ts on using Facebook as a platform for your business.
So absolutely, it's key. It is still key to use Facebook kind of the right way. one thing that I think a lot of people get confused about, or I get the question a lot as to should you have a business page in addition to your personal profile? That's a very popular question. I always frame it in the sense of if I was an ambassador. So if I was an ambassador, I would absolutely both. I would have a personal profile and a business page, and here's the reason why. And it's changed at this point. Maybe it wasn't the case in the past where you needed to have both. But what's happening is right now, and really within the last year, 6 months to a year with Facebook, they're changing how they're approaching businesses and selling and promotional stuff on their network. Anything you do on Facebook is on Facebook. So even though you're doing something, maybe you're doing a private message, or you have a closed or a secret group, that's still all Facebook. So Facebook can see really whatever they want to see on their own channel, which makes sense. So that's why you have to be careful about what you put out there, especially as a network marketer. I can tell you for sure, and it's nothing personal, Facebook doesn't like network marketers and MLMs. They just don't. And I could tell you from personal experience 2 things. When I used to work for Facebook here in the Phoenix area at their office here in Phoenix. I was kind of a consultant for businesses, and this was back in 2012. So this was even a while back. I would work with businesses on building their pages and creating ad campaigns, like actual full-on campaigns for advertising, that the type of ads that you see that come up in your news feed they're labeled as sponsored, like McDonald's, Starbucks, the companies of the world that are advertising, paying to advertise. And when we would get accounts that would come through to us that were MLM companies, it was an immediate red flag, and they're not allowed, like you as an individual ambassador are technically not allowed to pay to advertise on Facebook. It's in their rules. If you read through their whole policies and procedures, they have a rule in there, and it's unfortunate because they group MLMs and network marketing in with, they literally use the term pyramid scheme, and kind of fraud. So yeah, it's unfortunate because they don't make any type of differentiation between a company like ours that is by law, by FTC law, not a pyramid scheme, because we have customers, we have a product that we actually sell.
Right.
It's that differentiation. So unfortunately, if you try to run an ad, let's say on Facebook, an actual paid ad, you may get it through, or it may just totally not get rejected and not go through at all. So that's one side of it. So just knowing that there's that foundation of dislike, in a sense, for MLMs and network marketing by Facebook, just keep that in mind, because going forward, what they're doing now is they're kind of cracking down on anything that's considered what they term quote unquote overly promotional, especially in posts. So if you're posting something about a sale, discounts, products, hey, buy this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the algorithm that exists within Facebook sees that. And that's where you see people potentially get account suspended.
Yeah. They go to Facebook jail.
Yeah, go to Facebook jail.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen, but it was spurred by something that happened earlier this year. I wrote a post on our blog site that is specifically for you guys on kind of most of the known ways that your account can get suspended. Facebook doesn't make that information readily available or easily available. So it's all based on things that that I've seen and heard other ambassadors say that they did right before their account got suspended.
Yeah.
Other information that I gathered from online about other people going to Facebook jail. It's a lot of do's and don'ts. It's a lot. It's pretty extensive. The overarching theme is don't spam. Don't do spam-like activities. So, thing that you're doing a lot of in multiple places at once, or doing something really quickly and a lot of it's bad in Facebook's eyes. So I'll give you the example that really caused a stir was on the Friday night before Super Saturday this year in January. And you may have ambassadors that have not even been ambassadors. We're not ambassadors at that point. But what happened was we had Super Saturday in January. On the Friday night before, we posted a graphic. We emailed it to all the ambassadors, a graphic about convention points and the contest. And, what happened is a lot of people took that and wanted to share it with their teams and post it everywhere. And a lot of people did that. And as a result, a lot of accounts got suspended because they were all using this one graphic, and it was the same over the place. Yeah. And some got suspended, some people didn't. But I got a lot of messages and calls, and asking me, how do I get out of this? And it's out of our hands for sure. It's out of your hands as a user of Facebook, and it's really totally up to Facebook. They'll usually tell you. Usually those suspensions last about 2 weeks, at least initially. Some people lose their whole profile. It's totally gone. Some people will just not be able to comment or do things in groups for a 2-week period or something. Right. And there's all different penalties. So that's why this all leads back to having a business. That's why having a business page is important, because Facebook really doesn't that stuff.
Oh, you're kind of cutting out.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're frozen.
Oh, okay, but can you still hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you. You're back. So that's why I did this page. Now, the algorithm of Facebook, do people see business posts on the business page as often in their feed as they would on your personal page? Or is there some sort of trick to getting those posts to show up?
Yep. So, good question. The business posts. This is the other part with Facebook, is get businesses to spend money to advertise. And so what they've been doing over the last year or even 2 years is limiting the reach that business page posts have, meaning they're limiting how many people see your posts generally. Now I have a business page, and my posts, I have something like a little over 3,000 followers, and I'll get a reach of a couple hundred people on any given post. Then there'll be a post that goes to 5,200 feeds. So it's a lot of times it's really more about the content. If you have something that's really a good piece of content that you're putting out there that people want to see, they'll share it. They'll share it with other people, and they'll find the value in it, see the value in it, and they'll share it. And that's really where it comes down to. Or someone engages with your page, likes it, comments, shares it, the more likely they are to see what you post.
Gotcha. Well, and I think some of that too, because we always tell people to share, not sell on Facebook when they're new ambassadors. Like, we don't want to share those spammy posts. Just really share your experience with the product and how it's helped you and other people in your network. So that would probably help maybe prevent some of that getting caught in Facebook jail. But can you talk about maybe why too we tell a lot of ambassadors don't share posts from other ambassadors by like just clicking the share button? Because doesn't that show up different in their news feed than if I make my own post? Doesn't it come up as a little spammy?
So I've heard that. I've heard that from a lot of people, including Jewel ambassadors, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things that I don't know. The whole point of Facebook is they want you to share things.
Okay.
And the share button is there because they want you to use it. The kind of the main point of contention I've heard is what you just said there, Amy, about it looking spammy. Also, that if you're an ambassador and you're sharing something from another ambassador's page, I think a lot of people are getting nervous that if someone sees that, they'll go to that other ambassador instead of giving the one who shared the business. Which I can understand it.
I didn't even think about that, actually.
You know, I understand it, but as a whole, like Facebook prefers that you share something rather than they copy and save it and repost it yourself.
Right.
That's in Facebook's eyes, that's what comes across as more spammy than just sharing it.
Okay. But what about though, so like, because I never even thought about other ambassadors. I think maybe people are doing that for, I don't know, because their posts get lumped in with other posts, or maybe talk about the privacy settings. So like, that's the other thing. If I share something from somebody and they have it set just to their friends list, if I share it, it's not going to show up on my feed, right?
It depends. So number one, if it has to let you share it. So say you and I are friends and I share something just to my friends, all of my friends on Facebook, you'll get it. And then it'll let you share it, but when you share it, only you and I, only our mutual friends will see it.
Right. So that's the other problem then when people share posts. So if people, let's say that on this call that are friends with me, if you have shared any of my posts, only our mutual friends are going to see it. And they've already seen it once when I posted it.
If you originally shared it with just your friends rather than,
but you don't know that when you share somebody's post who, if it's set to public, right?
No, you can see.
Okay.
There's a little kind of icon that indicates what the setting was that the person shared it under. So on the post, it'll say, or it'll show you this little icon. If there's a little globe, that means they shared it with the public, with public.
Okay.
If the little kind of double person icon, that means they shared it with just their friends. If something's in like a closed or a secret group, it won't even let you share it outside of the group.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm just telling everybody on the call, if you guys have questions, you can use your chat function in Zoom and send them to me. That way we can keep everybody else muted for background noise. So Vincent, unless you have anything else maybe about Facebook, I'm thinking maybe let's jump into another outlet, like maybe Instagram.
Okay.
Okay, because I'll just take my personal, I am I'm on Instagram. I don't know how to use it though from a business perspective. I mean, other than just posting pictures, right, of the product or whatever. So is there any sort of strategy behind using Instagram?
Yes. So, and really this applies to really all the channels. At least this is my belief. This is kind of what I preach to people, is don't think about it as using it for your business necessarily, because all of these channels, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or anything, it all falls under the category of social media and not business media. So social media, they're designing these platforms to be places for people to connect and build these relationships. And what happens is, like, especially with Facebook and Twitter, they were the first, two of the very first ones really that are still around now that are viable. Facebook especially, it was started in college, on a college campus. It was made for students to connect and talk and gossip and all that, and then it just developed into this monster network. And then what happens is marketers like us and business people and companies see that there's this huge audience on these places, and we want to market to this audience. And then the platform develops a way for us to do that. And that's not the original intent of it. So that's why it's always better to just more so be yourself and be real. And it's okay to connect with people on things that are not Plexus related. Especially Instagram. Instagram, I'm sure you guys have seen, I'm sure you've seen, Amy, that if you put up a post, I know I get them. There's all these accounts on Instagram that they're kind of like these weird spam-like accounts, internet marketing, blah, 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 or SEO person or social media marketer, buy likes and all this type of stuff. And it's really a lot of garbage. But there's a lot of value on Instagram too. And I know people, even Jules, that have used Instagram for their business in a big way and gotten to where they are now, partly with the help of Instagram. Not alone, but partly.
Right.
Instagram's public, essentially. Instagram allows your content to be seen by really anyone that you choose. Excuse me. So unless you have your account set to private or something, I know people do that, but honestly, if you're going to be on a network like that, go all in or don't do it.
So you're saying we should be public?
I would recommend it, yeah, because you're kind of hurting yourself if you're not. And rather than have your account be private, I would just watch what you post on there if you're concerned about it. Like if it's your kids or something, maybe you have two separate Instagram accounts. One is for strictly your family and posting pictures of your family, your kids, really, really private stuff.
Right.
And then a business account. But even the business account, it shouldn't just be pictures of products and graphics and sales and all that. 'Cause
it still has to be personal.
People don't respond to it as much. I mean, you might get a couple people here and there, but in all reality, it's the majority of people are savvy enough at this point, and especially this whole millennial generation that's coming up, that's like the next boomers.
So then let me ask you, how do you expand your network on Instagram? Okay, so let's say I'm on there and I'm public.
Yep.
How do you expand it? Do I use hashtags, or what's the strategy there for reaching people outside of your network?
It's easier than you think.
Good. All right.
It is. A lot of people overthink it, but it's really as simple as just being active and engaging with other people on their posts. So if someone's posting, and what I usually recommend for folks to do is take a day, right? I mean, if you want to be crazy, take a week, but take a day, jump on Instagram, and don't think about Plexus on Instagram. Don't think about your business. Don't think about the products or anything. Go on Instagram and use it like anyone else that's on there, not for their business.
Okay.
Go on and look for things that interest you. So there's a search function on Instagram. You can just type in a keyword, and it'll bring things up. If you use the hashtags, you can type in a hashtag for just about any word, or there's certain phrases that get a lot of hashtag use on Instagram. Things like one huge one that a lot of people put on almost every post they do is hashtag InstaGood. That's, if you go on Instagram and you do a search for hashtag InstaGood, you'll see, I don't know how many hundreds of millions probably of posts using that hashtag. And what you're doing with a hashtag is you're putting your image into this feed under that keyword. So let's say let's say you have a post about, you drank the pink drink and you're feeling great, right? So you took a picture of yourself, you're feeling great, and you're kind of just capturing that moment. You hashtag it, hashtag health, hashtag lifestyle, hashtag fitness, hashtag weight loss. I mean, whatever would apply to that particular piece of content, that particular image, you could put a word as a hashtag, and I mean, there's going to be a feed for it. Essentially, it's a keyword that someone is potentially searching for at some point. And on Instagram, there's a huge community of fitness and weight loss and health. Food is huge. Recipes, for sure. So take that day and just look for things that you are interested in normally. If you like dogs, go and look at, hashtag dogs or hashtag a certain type of dog, and just you'll see a ton of pictures and videos.
Mm-hmm.
And go in and like what you would normally like, or interact, comment, and then what that does is that spurs the activity, the interaction between someone else and you. And on your profile, you probably are going to have maybe your Plexus website listed on there,
Right.
and you're an ambassador, and where you're located, and whatever other pieces of information you're comfortable with putting there. And so someone's going to check that out, and they're going to decide whether or not they want to follow you. And you really don't have much control over that, but you can play the percentages. If you're interacting with a certain number of people, well, a certain percentage of those people are going to end up following you. And then once they're following you, well, now every once in a while they're going to get hit with a message that you post having to do with Plexus. And then at some point they're potentially going to ask you about it.
Right.
So you know what I mean? It's definitely not always, or very rarely is it going to be this really quick, immediate sale or connection.
Right, but you're building that relationship.
Yep.
Yeah.
It can be, sometimes it can be very quick, but usually that type of a thing is few and far between, and usually the type of other accounts that do that, or the type of users that do that they're probably not going to end up being an ambassador or even a regular customer or something. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. So then what about Pinterest? Because that, I have a ton of followers on Pinterest just because I used it for a long time before Plexus. But I'm not sure how that works, because I know everything has to have a link. Every image, right, has to have a link.
Good, yeah.
So and one, should we even use it? One question that a lot of people are asking, and you can answer that later, but one question is, which kind of social media platform should we really be focused on out of all of them, if there is one? But Pinterest, should we use it? And if so, how?
So I'll preface this with, as far as should you use it, it kind of goes back to the question, that second question you just asked, and it's a quick answer. You should master maybe one or two platforms. You shouldn't try to do all of these platforms once, for sure. I have a full-time job, 40 hours a week, well, more than that, just managing the social media for Plexus, and that's a full-time job for me. So the social media side of things for you guys as ambassadors, it's part of your marketing toolkit. It should not be the be all and end all. So don't put all kinds of time into it. Certainly, people are on Facebook anyway. But if you're going to pick another one to use, let's say, depending on your level of experience with things, in your case, Amy, because you've been on Pinterest before,
right,
you have a big following.
Mm-hmm.
I would jump back on it and start using it, because Pinterest is humongous.
Yeah.
As far as even Pinterest doesn't even compare to Twitter or Instagram anymore. Pinterest, the comparisons are now with Google.
Oh, wow.
Searching, because a lot of people and a lot of women absolutely use Pinterest as their search engine rather than Google, and because
Oh,
it's so visual and
it's
the
huge.
things that, yeah, it's humongous. And what people, it's either the number one, or I think it's the number two, um, at this point behind Google. It's the number two driver of blog traffic behind Google. Not so
Yeah,
Facebook is, Twitter is not, Pinterest, because people link to their blog on their Pinterest account, and people, when they're doing a search, when users are trying to do a search, they see the visual and they see, oh man, that's awesome. Let me go take look at that in more detail, and then that takes them back to the person's blog or website, whatever.
yeah,
Um, it's visually, that's how people are searching at this point, with Pinterest. And Pinterest has a smart search capability. I mean, it's getting better every minute, every day. When you do a search on Pinterest, if you go on and type Plexus on Pinterest, it'll bring up, a bunch of pictures as results. But underneath the search bar itself, it gives you this whole row, this continuously scrolling row almost, of things that you are potentially looking for that are associated with Plexus itself. So if you type in Plexus, then underneath it'll say slim, worldwide, weight loss, health, cholesterol, diabetes. I mean, whatever
right.
people have searched for, and it's a smart search, and it continues to tailor that search for you based on what you click. So it's pretty amazing at this point in the game. It's huge. So there's a whole way to use it though, and honestly, if you don't have a blog site, it's not, you shouldn't use it, but you're not going to get as much benefit out of it really as you would if you have a blog site that you're constantly posting to and linking back to.
Right. That was my concern because I don't have something like that to keep linking it to.
Mm-hmm. One thing that you could do is you can upload original pins. So there's a couple ways that you can use Pinterest. You can upload a photo yourself,
right,
and then attach a link to that. So you can attach your website, your Plexus website to that. You could pin on Pinterest. So if you're just staying on Pinterest, you can go through and do searches on Pinterest and find things, and when you see things, you can repin them to your account. The other thing that I don't think a lot of our ambassadors necessarily do this is, if there's a little button that you can put onto your browser. So let's say you use Chrome as a browser. There's a little button that you can install. It takes 2 seconds, and they show you how to do it. Pinterest shows you how to do it.
mm-hmm.
It's a pin it button, and
right,
on any website you're on, you hit the pin it button.
Yep.
And it'll pull all the images that are on the page you're on, and you can pin, and then that will show the pin on Pinterest and automatically link to the website.
Right.
So a few different ways. And I'm sure you've used it a bunch, but just the size of what Pinterest is, it's a huge thing. I wouldn't recommend someone that hasn't used it much or is looking to get on something new. I don't know if that's the best way to go. I would say Instagram is probably a lot easier to pick up and just start using and get exposure and start networking on.
So, it sounds like it's one of those things like Instagram where you don't want to use any of this 100%, I would think, for the business, right? You still want to, because if I get on Pinterest and I just keep posting Plexus stuff, I'm going to lose a lot of my followers.
Yeah. They just will probably kind of ignore it, or the engagement won't be there. It's
right.
almost time. It's really more about your personal interests on that as well.
So what about blogs? I've got some people on the team asking, like, well, then it would, you mentioned blogs. Would it be worth starting a blog?
I'm a huge proponent of starting a blog if you're an ambassador. It's not as hard as it used to be. I totally get some folks are a little nervous about trying to create one, and and maintain it and start it. It's too
Right.
technical. The way things are now, you can literally start one in like 5 minutes with certain websites. And I will, what I usually say to people is if they're afraid of starting a blog, if you're on Facebook, you're already a blogger, because that's what Facebook is. Facebook, when you're on the Facebook, that's a blog post. It's just, you're just so used to Facebook, you don't think of it that way. But the goal with the blog is, instead of putting your thoughts on Facebook, you take your thoughts and you put them on your blog site, and you can link to articles and comment on the articles and then post them on your blog site.
Yeah.
And it takes a while. It's definitely not an easy thing. It takes a good amount of time to really build it, and you have to build it and all that. But a blog site, it's your site. You're not beholden to Facebook's rules, let's say.
Right. But now we are still to Plexus compliant. So can we talk about Plexus on the blog? I mean, say just the same rules apply as Facebook world? So
yes and no. With your blog, there's two ways to go about it. One way, if you're going to talk about Plexus at all, first of all, any type of a post talking about Plexus, you would send it in through compliance and get it reviewed and approved.
Oh, okay.
Okay. If you're not going to talk about Plexus, and in all honesty, if it was me, I would do a blog totally separate from Plexus, believe it or not. I would put a blog and talk about more the things that I'm interested in, my personal observations with other stuff, everything besides Plexus. And I can tell you, there's an ambassador. I was texting with her back and forth the other day because she was really excited, because I've been kind of preaching this for a while, and she's very excited because she's like, hey, guess what? I started my blog, and I totally don't post about Plexus or anything, and I got a customer. And so for me, that was, to hear that from someone as like a testimony,
right.
That was great. And it just developed. They built this connection from something that wasn't Plexus related. So the connection was there, and then it just so happened that it turned into, oh, well, what else are we interested in the same way? And I've had others too. I've some jewels that they used to blog, and they met through niche kind of community, if you will, and it turned into a friendship that they shared Plexus, and now they're both jewels.
Yeah. So how, though, you had mentioned real quickly on the blog, because I think a couple people do have blogs and they're probably thinking maybe they'll start them up again, but you'd mentioned sending it into compliance. Is that even if we're still talking about Plexus and like our own journey? So what would be like a Facebook post? Is it different because it's on a blog?
I mean, anything. Yes, because technically anything that you're talking about like that, on a separate website or anything of that nature, we really recommend that you have compliance review it. And just the safe side, because it's the gray area. It's a gray area. What you can talk about, what's different because it's your story and your personal experience and that sort of a thing.
Okay.
They'll tell you. And the goal is not to it's not to get people in trouble, and it's not to shut down people's businesses. I mean, by no stretch is that the goal. We want to make sure that you guys are doing the right things, and then as a company, we have to be careful of that too. Just FDA and FTC standards, we have to be aware and out there. And I can tell you that if you don't send the stuff in, something like that, I mean, we have a whole team of compliance that their job is to just be online pretty much all day. And not that they're not searching for bad things necessarily, but things do come in and get reported too. And I get reports on Facebook, on social media, of things that happen, and then I have to forward it to compliance for review. So it happens.
Okay. So let's switch gears real quick. The new big thing is Periscope. I'm on it. I'm not done one yet. because I'm not really sure what to do. Can you talk about that at all? I know there's a lot of ambassadors, a lot of jewels using Periscope already.
Yeah. So I love the live streaming apps. Periscope and there's Meerkat. Meerkat was first by a few weeks, and then Periscope came out in March. And Periscope is bigger and more popular right now because Twitter owns it.
Yeah.
And it's Twitter, and you can promote it very easily through Twitter and through other means. I was on Periscope probably half hour came out. It was funny. I was at this social media conference in San Diego on that weekend, and it came out on the Wednesday or the Thursday, and we were all using Meerkat, and we knew Periscope was coming, but everybody was, of course, on their phones, and we saw it, and we were like, oh my God, we have to try this out.
Right.
And so I love them both. There's even new ones that are coming out now. There's another one called Beam that just came out. There's another one called My Eye that just came. So it's the hot new thing is this live streaming, right? But Periscope is the biggest. For Plexus ambassadors, absolutely within the last, say, 2 weeks, it's loaded. Yeah, which is great. I love seeing it. And there's a little bit of a gray area. It's you still have to kind of be careful of what you talk about, what you say. I do see, I've seen Eric Worre on there using Periscope. So I don't know if it came from there or what. I know I told Chris McCall about it at convention, and then he was like, well, I don't know. And then a week later, he's all over it.
He's all over it.
They love it, which I knew what happened.
It's fun. So Twitter, though, so it's a couple other questions about it. So Twitter owns it. Do you have to have a Twitter account to be on Periscope?
You don't, but I would highly recommend it because it's more official and it works better for what it is. Even if you just have a Twitter account, that's the only reason that you have that account.
Yeah, why? Okay, so why is that better? Because I have Twitter, but I don't use it.
Because the way it links, it's going to help your Twitter account. It's going to help follow you, even though it's a little bit independent inside the Periscope app itself. You can follow someone on Periscope without following them on Twitter.
Okay.
But it does link to Twitter. So, for instance, if I have my Twitter account, if I actually have multiple Twitter accounts between the company and my own. I have like 4 or 5. And when I jump on there, Periscope, it gives me the option of signing in under different accounts. So I can sign in. This is on my phone. Obviously it's mobile. I can sign in as Plexus under the Plexus Twitter account or one of the Plexus Twitter accounts. I can sign in under myself. And just it's building that following. It's letting people being able to see who you are, and then connect with you on Twitter as well. It also will send out. It helps you promote the stream. So when you start a stream, if it's connected to your Twitter account, it will automatically the link out to that stream that you're doing right then. So other people can see it, and it's hashtagged a certain way so that it shows up for really anyone to see on Twitter. It also, when you're in the stream, it allows you to share the live stream that you're doing on Twitter.
Okay.
And if you want. So it's really, it helps with the promotional side and building the audience, building the followers for that purpose.
So is there any sort of strategy behind Periscope? I mean, we talked in all the other, I think, platforms about making it personal, and then building the relationships, and then Plexus just kind of happens. But right. I know with a lot of the jewels that I've been watching and follow, they're focused on Plexus for a lot of their posts.
Yeah.
Is there any strategy behind that at all?
So Periscope just came out in March.
Yeah.
And right now there's a million strategies because everyone and their mother thinks that they have the strategy for Periscope and they know
here's how to figure it out.
It's really, Periscope is really, and Meerkat, the same thing. It's really kind of like the first apps, the first social media that has come out that has come out now recently, and that there's so many people out there that call themselves social media experts, and they feel like they know everything to do and all that, and so everyone's jumping on this, writing ebooks and all that type of stuff about here's what you should do, here's what you should not do. For me, what I've seen, what I like using it for personally is two things. One is just personally, I feel like I can connect with people immediately if I need to, and it's really just for fun.
Yeah.
Where last night I jumped on. It was actually before another training call that I was like, I titled it "What's Your Favorite Podcast?" and I had 30 or 40 people jump in, and we were just talking, just engaging about these different things and what we liked, what we didn't like. So there's that aspect of it. There's also, there's almost a voyeuristic aspect where you can just go in and watch other people's feeds anywhere in the world. There's that map feature on the bottom, that little globe. When you click on that, you have two options. One is the map itself, and one is a list. If you choose the map option, it shows you a map of it starts in the U.S., but you can scroll around and look around the world, and for each city, and you can drill down too. It'll show you in each city the number of live streams that are happening right at that moment. And if you click on it, it'll give you the list underneath it of who the people are and what the subjects are and how many people are watching right at that moment. So yeah, it's really interesting because, say you go to the LA ones or the New York ones, or, a big city, sometimes celebrities just on it, just kind of hanging out or at a party or at a TV show. And, it's so that immediate connection that's so
cool
for people. It's boom, you're just talking to someone, or you're in there while someone's talking to you and you're commenting back and forth.
So then we should probably right now start following as many people as we can or want.
Yeah, that's what I do. I go in and I mean, there's some, I'll kind of look at the account. You can go on the right-hand side. When you go on Periscope, on the right-hand side, there's the way to follow people.
Yeah.
And it brings up all the people that you can follow, and you can search for people. You can tell from their profile a little bit if you want to follow them.
Yeah, I've noticed, like, I'm on it now. And when I first started, there were some, I think, that come up as, like, recommended or most loved. And I was like, I don't want to follow some of them. But yeah, you can tell, I think, from their profile, I guess.
The big thing with Periscope that I think is really valuable is events. So I've had a lot of people ask me about opportunity meetings or training calls or, team trainings, things like that. Periscope is actually for those things. As far as Plexus is concerned, you can do a team meeting similar to like what this is here. In a way, if your meeting is just you more so kind of talking to the team, let's say, and then the input that you give back, it's okay if they message it rather than a back and forth talking. Then you can do a team meeting that way. If you want to do an opportunity meeting where, let's say you're actually doing a live opportunity meeting with people that are in attendance, but you set up your phone and just start the Periscope stream and either have someone hold it and do it at the same time and get the audience and get everything, or just sit there and have it, focused on you doing the meeting, the training, whatever. I mean, that's, people are going to jump in and out of that and get exposed to the products, the business, whatever. And then they may reach out to you. They may say, "Oh, I saw your Periscope the other night. I was wondering what more about Plexus." So for business purposes, it actually has more potential, I think, than some of the others as far as an immediate business reaction, business potential, because someone's going to see you personally and see what's going on. I was using Periscope at convention, so events like that, where people can't make it, but they want to see what's going on. They get a feel, get that feel for what's going on backstage. Or I know Molly Orr was doing Jewel interviews. I think she was using Periscope. She might have been using Meerkat, I forget, but it was one of the two.
A couple more questions, and I know we have about 5 minutes left. Would using something like Periscope at an opportunity meeting, though, open us up to any compliance issues? Because aren't all Periscope videos, can't they be saved on YouTube and recorded?
Yes and no. You can. So with Periscope, there's some options where you can limit. You can send it out to only certain followers if you want.
Okay.
You can select who it goes out to. You can select whether or not you tweet the link out to everybody to see.
Okay.
All Periscope. What happens with the Periscope streams is right now they get saved on Periscope for 24 hours.
Right.
Even that, you can get rid of it if you
Yeah.
want. You can. There's an option you can click to just delete the stream if you want to.
Okay. And I've even noticed, like, I was on a couple of times with Sonia Dudley, and every time she Periscopes, she blocks who can actually comment. So it's only people that she follows, whereas other people just let it. So I did notice there's different settings.
You can do that. The commenters, for sure, even if you don't block everybody or whatever, even when people are commenting in the stream, if someone is commenting like what they're saying, you can block them even in the stream to let
Oh yeah,
other people.
that's happened a few times with Celeste. Yeah, there were some creepers during her Periscope.
Always.
Is Periscope only, though, a mobile app, or can you use it on the computer too, like Twitter or Facebook? Do you know?
Right now it's mobile.
Okay.
So it's limited to phones and tablets. Meerkat is actually mobile, but you can pull it up and watch streams on a desktop or a laptop as well.
Okay. One last question. Do you recommend, so thinking back to Instagram, that we always link Facebook and Twitter in those Instagram posts?
Good question. I think I know a lot of people do it. I'm a big fan of creating content that's tailored for each channel. But that doesn't mean it's a different picture for everything necessarily. It just means you're writing next to it maybe isn't the same thing every time. It's tailored for that audience that's on that particular channel. So here and there, I even do it here and there. I'll post on Instagram and then share it on Instagram to Twitter or Facebook directly.
Right.
I can tell you that it's not negative, but detrimental parts to that. On Twitter, the picture doesn't come through. It's just a link to the Instagram itself.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, the engagement and the reach of your Instagram post that gets shared to Facebook, I mean, from everything I've seen personally and other people, it's much lower. Way less people see it rather than if you even took the post link on Instagram and posted it on Facebook separately.
Okay. So Meerkat or Periscope? I know you said Periscope's bigger. Does that mean better, or is it still too new?
You know what? I think two different audiences. Periscope is very random and big.
Okay.
A lot of noise. Periscope, just like there is on Twitter. There's a lot of noise where people are just kind of. There's a mix of brand new users that are just jumping on and saying, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing here," but they're live streaming and they're not really doing anything. They're just testing it. There's to the top where there's brands that are doing something very specific and they're tracking it and it's planned out and all that. And then there's other people that are just kind of like, maybe they're walking in the mall and they're live streaming because they're messing around. I mean, there's all this random noise out there, and in between there's some good stuff. Whereas with Meerkat, it's because it's more dialed down and there's more personalities on Meerkat. There's definitely a lot more of the marketing types. Let's say the people they're broadcasting like every day, maybe multiple times a day with specific goals and shows, because Meerkat allows you to schedule a live stream. So if it's within 4 hours, I'm
not familiar.
Keep going. Yeah, it's a live stream. It just, their pros and cons. I kind of wish they would mix what they each do and have one big one. But yeah, Meerkat, there's a big lag on Meerkat. So right now, as we're talking, if I was typing and you were talking, there's like a 20-second delay between you seeing what I comment and all that. So that's kind of the main hang up on it right now. But there's a lot more personalities on Meerkat, people that are really focused on doing their show every day, almost like a podcast, or a radio show or a TV show, and they do things specifically. Okay, here's what the title's going to be. It's going to be on at this time. Subscribe to it, and then you'll get notified when it comes on, when they start.
Okay. Well, any last minute, last closing thought that you could share with us? Or is there anything that we didn't think of that you're like, oh man, these guys are missing out because they didn't even ask about it?
I would say I would kind of reiterate the point about just don't try to do everything all at once. Don't try to do 50 different social media channels, because it's way better to master one or two than it is to be mediocre at all of them. That will hurt you. You're really just adding to the noise and everything that's out there, and it's almost wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
And not helping you. It's not helping you get customers or ambassadors or build connections or anything. The main thing I would say is just, you guys know this though, but I would just reiterate it, that just be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Be real, because the only thing that you bring to the table that's unique from everyone else in the world, and even ambassadors, is that you can only you can be you. No one else can be you. You're unique. Everyone's unique, and that's what you bring to the table.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, Vincent, so much. I really appreciate you doing this for us. It was huge.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.